my name is Bonnie Steepleton. I'm Director of Student and Career Services at the University of New Mexico School of Law. And today our guest is Professor Josh Kastenberg, who's here to tell us about careers with JAG. Welcome, Professor.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here this morning.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit about your background and your connection to JAG.
Okay, so I had a close to 24-year career in the military, and of that 23 years and several months, 20 of them were as a JAG. And so I graduated from law school. Well, I was commissioned when I went into law school, and there are different pathways to being a JAG, which I can get into in a little bit. So I owed the Air Force another 4 years after law school. So prior to that, I had some intelligence background and then went to law school and became a judge advocate. And started off as a captain like any other new judge advocate does, and I was a prosecutor on lower level crimes, and I represented the Air Force in U.S. District Court in age discrimination suits and in Americans with Disabilities Act suits, because the military is a big civilian workforce and the military is part of the federal government, and therefore they're subject to the laws of the country as it applies to those laws in particular. Then I was a defense counsel for a year and a half, and I defended service members in courts martial, including a death penalty case. And then I became a senior prosecutor, and I headed up a team for about 4 years that prosecuted sex and violent crimes cases around the world. Then the Air Force sent me to get an LLM in international law, and I went back to Georgetown and did that for a year. And then I went to work for the North Atlantic Treaty Organization as an Air Force officer still. Then I went to D.C. to the Pentagon, to the Joint Staff, then the National Security Agency. In between those two, a year in Iraq, and then after the NSA, another year in Iraq. And then I came back and was a military trial judge, and I presided over courts martial for over 5 years. And then I decided, it's time to retire, and I got lucky and ended up here teaching.
Fabulous. Thank you. So what would you advise a student who might be interested in a career with JAG?
So look at the JAG Corps, whether it's Army, Navy, Marine, Air Force, or U.S. Coast Guard as a military career first and foremost. And ask yourself, do you want to be a part of the United States Armed Forces? Because that's what you are. You come in as a commissioned officer, and you're expected to be a professional officer like any other captain, whether that captain is flying an F-16 fighter plane or in command of an M1A1 tank in the Army. And so that's the most important thing of all. Obviously, being a competent lawyer, and there are different levels of competency that come with experience. That's important, but you don't have to be a master of constitutional law to be a JAG. You have to want to aspire to being a professional military officer. The other thing is this: lawyers, many lawyers by their nature are competitive, and when they're fighting for billable hours at a law firm or trying to get that great internship with a high-level federal agency like the Department of Justice or the State Department, the military is different. It's based on teamwork. And there's an old saying that George C. Marshall, who was a former chief of staff of the Army in World War II and later a Secretary of State under Harry Truman, said, "You can't care who gets the credit for winning. You have to be part of the team." And that's the most important thing, and a willingness to say we rise and fall as a team, whether we're sergeants or privates or captains, majors, colonels, generals, and the like. And so if you're looking for a place that's built on a meritocracy and collegiality, then the military should be a consideration that you'd have. And then finally, the other thing, and this goes back to the military, is this: you don't have to make hospital corners on your beds. I'll admit I was a messy teenager growing up, but you do have to develop a sense of order and organization in your life, because there isn't a lot of tolerance for lateness in turning in work in the military. But my military career for me and my peers went by in the blink of an eye. And there wasn't a single moment in my career, and including as a professor today, where I've looked back and said, I have any regrets. I won't say that every day in the military was a perfect day. In the 2 years I was in Iraq in wartime conditions, I would say that there were a lot of lousy days. and you're not always going to have a great boss. On the other hand, the experience over that 24 years went by in the blink of an eye, and I have no regrets. I only have a happiness as I look back on those 24 years, because I was thinking that I was always serving a cause much more important than myself.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, we appreciate your time, and I hope that students who are interested in JAG career will talk with you and come here to Career Services and attend our workshops that we have recruiters come often to campus.
And I would like the students to know that I have an open door, and I'm not a military recruiter, but I have an open door for anyone interested in the JAG Corps at all. And like I said, I'm not a recruiter, but I will share life experiences. I will put them in contact with people who are still on active duty, and I'll open up a conversation.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
Great.